I'm answering another viewer question today from my community group. And the question is about letting go of the constant healing shadow work that you often get into in the spiritual teachings, especially when you come across the much direct pointers that we speak of on this channel. Okay, so I'll read the question out to you. So it's about surrender. It's about letting go. It's about letting go of believing in your story, your hurt, your trauma, which ultimately we speak of as the greatest healing. Because oftentimes, no matter how much you heal the personality which is limited feels broken. So there's always more healing to do. So this question today will touch on many different points of the surrendering process of not only the healing of this personality, but the personality itself. So I'll read the question out loud and I'll put it up on the screen right here. The question is, so I grasp the teachings in your videos, but don't yet feel that I, the person, have an integrated life. With every meditation, stored emotions are releasing, and body is fairly inactive from health issues. I'm not contributing as fully as I would like, and there is some comfort in just be the awareness, just observe. What is observing? The mind that is telling the story of the person who doesn't feel fully integrated in themselves or in society. It feels so inviting to fully dwell as the observer, yet the person has been trained to heal and integrate and dealing with health stuff. And the question I'm really trying to ask is, can I fully let go? Is it enough to abandon the lifelong project of working on the personal self, a job not finished, and simply devote attention fully to the observer, that which is watching the mind, no longer feeding the mind? What happens to the not fully balanced and healed person and their erratic or uneven behavior? Does this just dissipate, eliminate from pure observation? Is it a complete detachment from whatever the person is doing in life, just observing as the one being in a play of consciousness, trusting all arising and occurring in perfection? Can we fully let go and let God? Thank you. First, I actually just want you to acknowledge anytime you have this many questions, because you see, there's not one question. Anytime you have this many questions, look how complicated you are, how entangled you are in the web of mind. And you give your attention to all these little things that are just arising in mind, you give your attention to, thereby giving your energy to. So I understand that there's a legitimate curiosity about all of these questions, but you must understand that having this amount of questions, it leads to great entanglement and further more and more confusion. And I often say that when we answer these questions for you, you answer this question and the next question and the next question, and you keep feeding the mind this food, this mental, intellectual food. It receives an answer and just creates 5 more questions, mental questions based on that answer, and then 25 more, and then so on and so forth. So this mind is a self-propagating machine. As long as it has energy and attention and engagement from you, it will entangle you in a web of confusion from where you will feel like this entire teaching is impossible to grasp. So I'm not using this as a cop-out for answering your questions. I will answer your questions. But I just want you to acknowledge this, because at a certain point, you have to make the decision to surrender to your need of needing these questions answered. And any person who has a very, very sort of logical sort of tendency that starts working with me or even joins my free group, I try to point them towards this. And it's very frustrating to them always. But it is such a necessary step you must take. You must understand that you cannot grasp the teaching through these sorts of constant mental questions. Anytime you have this many questions, better yet to simply let go of your need to having them being answered and actually just practice the principles that we discuss, the main principles of the teachings. Usually we don't want to practice them and we just want to dwell in these questions. And we feel like once I have the answer to these questions, then I will practice the teaching. Then I will implement. Then I will observe. Then I will inquire. Then I will rest as awareness. So I just want you to acknowledge that first and foremost. It's not something I was even planning to say when I thought about making this video, but it is definitely arising and I want you to see the importance of it. So let's get to the first part of your question. You first say, I grasp the teachings in your videos, but don't yet feel that I, as the person, have integrated them, So I would like to say, before carrying on with the rest of your question, is that stop defining yourself as a person. Stop creating this division between what you are, I as the person and I as the observer. As long as you do this, you will always be torn apart and you will unknowingly carry this identity as this body. I am this body and I am trying to be the observer. I am trying to surrender. I as this body, I as this person, I as this story, this bundle of thoughts, am trying to surrender, and it will never happen. So not even for the sake of language, not even for the sake of sometimes asking these questions, just any single time you begin to define yourself as a body, catch yourself and acknowledge it. Because the moment you establish your identity as the body, as the person, now all of these questions must be answered. Now all of these problems start. There lies your issue. You identify yourself as a body trying to do things. So when we are discussing the teaching in this manner, let go of identifying I as just the body. Obviously, for the day-to-day affairs, it's necessary and you do so. But when you come into this sort of dialogue, that goes out the window. And the moment you establish your identity as the body, then that's where all these problems start. To grasp this teaching, see how you have to see experience very, very impersonally. Right now, you see experience as I, this body, am going through experience from past to future. I, this body, am experiencing this life. I, this body, have an illness. I, this body, have these questions. You must acknowledge this, that the body is your reference point for even receiving this teaching. You think that I, this body, am listening to Sunny's teaching. Sunny being another body. So this is a barrier that you must cross. And it doesn't take any sort of revelation or 5 hours of meditation or 5 years of meditation to cross. Here and now, acknowledge that your actual experience is what is primary. Your experience of yourself. What is the primary experience of yourself? The closest experience of I, even now. It is being aware. Being aware of experience. What are you calling the person? The person is an object in your seeing. The seeing is your primary experience of myself, of me. And what you call the person is simply the body, with this story, all the things that have happened, the sensations, the feelings, the emotions. All these are seen. All these are secondary, whereas your primary experience of yourself is consciousness itself, even now. So you must start to look at your experience in an impersonal way. So from here, you say, with every meditation, stored emotions are releasing. And see, from the impersonal perspective, this is not a problem. As a body, if you try to surrender and let go, and emotions are coming up, that is a problem, right? Because you're trying to let go of the emotions, but all these emotions are coming up. And now as a body, this is an issue, and I don't want to have these emotions. They're uncomfortable. However, from the standpoint of your true position, what is primary is being aware. In this awareness, there is an experience of this emotion arising. There's no even question of why it's arising. There's no even question of what is making this arise. It is just a fact of this moment. It is the experience right now. See, to even ask why is this happening or what does it mean, you have to go off into thinking, which is secondary. Your primary experience is being aware, and right now there's an awareness of this emotion. From here, the emotion, the sensation, the feeling, even if it's pain, is not a problem. And it is not related to the past and this experience and that and this. That is the job of your mind. Your thinking, which also is an experience in consciousness, arises and ties all of these things together. Oh, this emotion is arising because I'm doing this and because this happened in the past and this and this. And it's purely conceptual. You're running off with it. It is not true. From your true perspective, it is just the emotion arising. So where is the problem? What is it? What has to be integrated? Nothing. So see, the moment you drop your identity, your position as the body, there's nothing that has to be integrated. There's nothing that has to be even surrendered. It is just my primary experience of being aware and that which I am aware of temporarily until what I am aware of changes into something else. But my primary experience of myself is always me, myself, and I being aware. Even this idea of the person who doesn't feel fully integrated, it's just an idea, which also goes the moment you stop placing yourself as the body. You say, it feels so inviting to fully dwell as the observer, yet the person has been trained to heal and integrate and dealing with health stuff. So see how in this question, in this statement, you again identify yourself as the body who wants to dwell as the observer, which is something separate or something within or deep. But it is your primary experience of yourself. It is your nature to know, to be aware. You are aware without effort. You think with effort. You feel with a certain effort. You do with a certain effort, yet you know choicelessly. It is your nature. So the teaching isn't to go be an observer. It is to acknowledge that your primary experience is observing. And that is why you're told to observe, not as some technique, but to acknowledge your already existing position, to go to the core of yourself, the center of observation, which you're not creating or fabricating. It is the fact of your existence. And from here, even the doing, the happening, the action, the feelings, the thoughts, the emotions, whatever the play is going on, is being observed. So it is not to say that when you're coming across this teaching of surrender, of letting go, of acceptance, of observing, that you're being told to only sit on your couch and just observe. You need to acknowledge your capacity of observation, of being aware. Are you less aware when you are out in the supermarket, when you are at work, when you are listening to this video? Do you stop being aware? No. You are not aware that you are aware. You unconsciously identify as a body. That is the only thing going on here. You identify as the movement. You identify as the thought, the emotion, the pain, the action. So that is all you're being asked to acknowledge. You're being asked to acknowledge that in any given moment, whether if you're sitting on the couch or whether you're in some great movement and activity, that your essential nature, your essential place is still just the observer, the knower, the knowing, in which all sorts of perspectives, thoughts, feelings, images, sensations are arising and subsiding, playing out their momentary existence and becoming dreamlike, non-existent. So even in the position of surrender, there may be, so let's say if you're dealing with a physical illness, it doesn't mean, oh, stop going to the doctor, stop healing your body. If perhaps you need to exercise or you need to do this and that. But you're no longer misplacing your sense of self within what happens, within what is observed, which is constantly changing. The position of surrender is the heart of awareness, of knowing. So you ask, the question that I'm really trying to ask is, can I fully let go? As the body, you cannot let go. You will say you let go. It'll be a mental statement. And then you will have a hard time with it. And you will make it into a problem. And wonder 50 things about it. And be confused. Surrender, letting go, can only make sense to you from the impersonal perspective. You as the person are becoming impersonal. It is already your perspective here and now, prior to what you believe yourself to be. So you're stripping away that which you are not, that which is not original to you. Is it enough to abandon the lifelong project of working on the personal self and simply devote attention fully to the observer? Again, you see, being and knowingly being aware does not mean you have to stop doing a certain something. What you will see is that simply your ideas about being broken and what you must, and this constant feeling of being lacking, of being broken, of being shattered, wounded, and all the inauthentic action that arises on behalf of that assumption, that is what starts to cease to be. Whereas the happenings still happen, the movement still happens, and who knows what that will be for you. It may mean doing something like exercising or going to the doctor or doing a workshop or meditating or whatever, or just the day-to-day stuff. That is what you must understand when it comes to surrender, that what you do, what happens, that's not what it's about. It's where you are placing your sense of self, is what you understand yourself and know yourself to be in this moment. As what are you here? As what are you aware? If you are aware as a body, if that's your assumption, then surrender will be confusing and it will be a mental statement. If you acknowledge here and now that I am, as what am I here? As that dimensionless point of awareness in which all the doing and all the colorful experience, the happenings are happening, then this will actually begin to make sense. Then no matter what the activity is, then you are in a surrendered state. And of course, you again get contracted into those concerns and stuff, but in the moment of acknowledgement, let them go. So it's not as a body, I am now devoting my attention to this observer. No. You are acknowledging that I am this awareness in which even the body is just an experience. And this idea of who I am is a thought. I wonder if you see that. And with this will come the quality of discernment between which thoughts to follow, which thoughts automatically are acted on. Yet that is not a doing of your own. It is again just a happening. And this is only by implementing what I'm saying to the best of your understanding and just playing around with it and devoting yourself to the practice of it, do you begin to start seeing these subtle differences. Because obviously from the present moment perspective, it always feels like I, as this body, am in charge. But that is what you must come to as you come to rest as the seeing, regardless of your activity, regardless of how the bodies react, how this person's reacting and this and that, you will come to see that it is all a spontaneous occurring. So it's fine to have this sense of I am doing this, but continue to observe, be the seeing of it, acknowledge that you are seeing, you are that knowing in which all the happenings happen, and then see how this person literally vanishes at night. Every night you go to sleep and this person is no more, yet you are the knower of even that absence of the person. In dream, you have a totally different body, totally different experiences, and they also vanish. In sleep, you have no experience, no body, no knower or no known, just absence. Yet there's knowledge of even that. So I want you to start acknowledging the depth from which you are knowing, where you are situated, seated. That is what the I is pointing to, even here and now. It is not this I, this body, that I'm going to become that. The I here and now is that. What happens to the not fully balanced and healed person? Whatever may happen, So this question is irrelevant. Because this question still is arising just from personal identity. So it's not even worth answering. See what happens. Who knows what will happen? I can't even know what's happening in my experience. How can I know what's happening in yours tomorrow? That is the love of life, the spontaneity, the spontaneous creativity that you can never put into a box. But see how awareness is not biased as to what is the current experience. It allows any experience equally. It is not biased towards what you mentally consider a good experience or a pleasant experience. There's equal knowing of pain as pleasure. Is it a complete detachment from whatever the person is doing in life, just observing as the one being in a play of consciousness, trusting all arisings are occurring in perfection? Who must trust? Is there a need for that which you are to trust? Again, you must only trust as this personal identity. You must trust that, oh, things are happening for my best, my little me best, you know? Yes, it is a play, it is a position of detachment from the personal activity. Yet, in the same manner, it is also the fullness of experience. And what do I mean by that? Oftentimes, detachment feels like, oh, you're totally removed, not caring, not just a blank neutral state. You know, you're just rejecting the highs and lows. Where actually, I would argue that right now you are rejecting the high, or you're clinging to the highs and you're rejecting the lows. You are a puppet, which you want to just hang on to what is good, and you divide life in half. You want half of it, which is good, and what you believe as good. Not, you know, that's just your idea also. And you just reject, avoid, and run away from and fear everything that you consider bad. So right now you're in a place of dividing life and running away and fighting back. And you've come to know this as life, but see how that is, you know, it is you choosing your own suffering unconsciously. Whereas the place of detachment is actually a fullness of experience where you're allowing your experience to go through the highs and lows without clinging on the highs and resisting the lows. It is a total openness, a total spaciousness in which what is like the screen on a movie, where any scene, devastating or blissful, is allowed to play. The screen is not rejecting the war scenes and only wanting the nice love romantic scenes, you see? So it is a fact. It is nothing to be trusted, but it is a fact that what is arising in consciousness is exactly what is arising in consciousness. Only as a person I must trust that, this may turn for my good or whatever. So can we fully let go and let God? Yes, but not as a person. Don't withhold this personal identity and then let go, because it'll always be, you'll be just a confused entity, you know? See what this teaching today is pointing to. And you don't need to pretend like, and you don't need to talk about it. You know, I see sometimes people in spiritual circles talk about, like, now they refer to their body as, Sunny is doing this, and no, don't talk like that. And don't try to fabricate, I'm not the body. You must observe and see in your own experience that I am not the body, that the body is not my ultimate reality. And from that position, I don't need to reject this one. This one is not a problem. If anything, then only is this one's natural expression, authentic expression will arise. So I have a few more videos on surrender which you may find helpful, and I'll link them at the end of this video in the end screen. But I hope this video helped you. I know I wanted to do a deep dive on this because these sorts of questions I know occur to many people, and these sorts of concerns arose many times this month for many different people who reached out to me. So I just wanted to really do an in-depth dive on this. Now, don't be tempted to just venture off into more questions. Contemplate this teaching. Sit in silence with it. Okay? But yes, now if you would like to watch my playlist on surrender to further go deeper into this and see the different aspects of it, you can click the video somewhere on the screen right now. Or if you wish to just be silent with this for a while and not go on into further concepts, that is okay too. Have a good one. I'll see you next time.